Hello, my name is Jeffrey Elsey, and this is my Fall 2020 Developmental History Project. I am currently in a nursery in my house in a nice rocking chair because it is the quietest place in my house with all the construction that we have going on right now. The purpose of this project is to analyze a childhood and to compare it to different theories of development. I apologize in advance because I don't have any pictures of my childhood. They were all lost in an accident, so as you go through my project, you won't see any pictures of me as a child, but I promise you I was super duper cute. And without further ado, here's my project.
If you would have known me a few years ago, I would have told you that on November 21st, 2000, a star was born. See, before I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a pop star, but more on that later. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, and prevented my older sister Penny from becoming an only child. We lived with our mom and dad in a humble house in a pretty rough part of town. I'm actually not sure for how long that was the case, as my unwed teenage mom and dad were not always accepting the role of parents throughout our life. Considering Maslow's hierarchy of needs, only the first two tiers of the pyramid were applicable to my early childhood. For the first 7 years of my life, my older sister and I were moved from home to home. My parents, who have spent their adult lives in and out of prison and rehab, were largely absent. Yes, I had all of my physiological needs being met in each home we went to, and I was generally safe, but none of my psychological needs were being met. Though it was a very traumatic and emotional time for us, I was often able to find solace in the parallel universe of music. My sister would sing to me through the worst of it, and soon I found myself singing all the time and seeking out new and different kinds of music in which to escape. This whole section of my life is reflective of Erikson's stages of psychosocial development, in the fact that I learned at an early age that to trust is to be foolish. I was ashamed of my upbringing, and I felt guilty for my parents' absence in my life. But I also found my identity in music. When I was 7, my cousins, who had 3 children of their own, took me and my sister in. However, we never got along, and it was a difficult decade of fights, drama, and heartache for everyone involved. What my adoptive parents failed to realize is that according to Piaget's 4 stages of development, by the time I was 7, a hugely significant part of my character was already developed, and instead of adjusting the way that they parent to the way that I psychologically needed to, they tried to make me more like them. They aren't completely to blame for the 10 years of butting heads. For some reason, for the entire time I lived with them, I never progressed past the self-interest stage of Kohlberg's 6 stages of moral development. I was a very self-centered person until around the time I turned 18. I give all the credit for my selfishness to my traumatic childhood. Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory states that inherent qualities of children and their environments influence how they grow and develop into adults. And given all the selfishness I experienced as a child, I really had no other choice but to emulate similar behaviors because I didn't know any better, and no one tried to teach me any different. This is completely in line with Vygotsky's theory of sociocultural development. Sometime during high school, I started being told by many adult role models that I should consider being a teacher. I didn't give it much thought at first. I was like that about a lot of advice that was given to me. My brain just immediately dismissed it. My senior year, I finally decided that I did want to be a teacher. The only problem was my adoptive parents. They didn't understand that Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences suggests that there are other ways of being smart besides the traditional idea of intelligence. Although I always passed all of my classes in high school, my parents knew that that wasn't the kind of knowledge that I cared about. But that was the only kind of intelligence that they cared about, which meant that my desire to expand my interpersonal intelligence seemed like a waste of time to them, and they told me that I should go into the military, because no college would pay for me to go there. I knew I had to move out if I wanted to have any chance at succeeding at college. I wanted to be a teacher, and my parents just wouldn't support it, so I had to do it myself. Luckily, as odd as it seems to the outside viewer, My girlfriend's parents took me in to their home and gave me all the encouragement I needed to get accepted to Butler with enough scholarships to make it feasible for me financially. I still live with them, which seems scary to other parents because it's not normal to let your daughter's boyfriend live in your home, but it just works. These people understand me, and I'm happy to say that my girlfriend recently became my fiance, and we have a date set. Since living with the Sims, I have learned so much about putting others first, and the idea of having grace and compassion with others. Circling back to Vygotsky's theory of sociocultural development, now that I finally had good role models in my life, I was finally able to grow as a person. I'm excited to become a teacher and pass on my interpersonal intelligence to as many students as are willing to hear it.